there. Thank you very much. So yes, we did the impact assessments for Flame 1 and Flame 2. Firstly, I want to like to explain what impact is for us. So yes, impact is not what was done or covered during the program, but rather the difference it made within those businesses and in the lives of those beneficiaries. So yeah, the feedback was really amazing. So yeah, a lot of the businesses were forced to diversify because of COVID-19, changing total direction. A lot of the businesses offering different products, different services. Participants, yes, were quick to adapt to the use of technology. Initially, when they started, on Zoom and Google Forms, it was a challenge initially, but after a few months, yes, adapted to the use of it. And actually enjoyed interacting on the platforms. 85% indicated that they made use of a budget to keep track of their income and expenses, which is really good, especially during COVID when money was really very tight, and they were given the tools that they needed to actually keep track of every little cent. 55% actually opened new businesses and registered a business in the 24 months, since the program started, which is really amazing. 50% did indicate that they were currently, yes, just in survival mode and just coming by in their businesses. But I mean, that is completely understandable, taking into consideration that a lot of businesses has gone bankrupt, not just small businesses, but larger businesses has gone bankrupt in this, in the current situation. But I mean, so that is really very good. 93% strongly agreed to the benefits of using social media to promote their products and services. A lot of them were able to, conduct Facebook campaigns, were able to use WhatsApp. And when we look at the current situation, I mean, there's more people on social media than what there's ever been. A lot of the participants has actually made use of those opportunities. 60% strongly agreed that they had improved their ability to market their products better, looking at different ways in which to market their business. 40% strongly agreed in their ability to tender online. A lot of them, especially those that were offering face masks and other PPE products, registered on government and were able to do tenders and generate income for their businesses, which was amazing. Yes, overall, when we look at the work that was covered, there was certainly demonstrated more resilience. And we remember we've been interacting with these businesses every single month. We listen to their challenges and how they're able to overcome them. A lot of resilience was shown, a lot of improvement in the use of innovation and technology in overcoming a lot of the challenges. And yes, please, one of our participants, Owen, would you like to share a little bit, and as they refer to him, the entrepreneur with swagger. So please, over to Owen for a small testimonial.
My name is Owen Mdleze, and I'm a proud graduate of 2019 Flame Program for Small Business Owners. Being part of the program during the crisis, it helped me a lot because when the crisis hit, we already had a network, we already had the support from the coaches, we already had the knowledge of how to do things. It helped me to be able to balance my personal finances, to balance the business finances, to set up everything so that when there's a crisis, I can be able to sort myself out, and there were contingencies in place, and then there was a backing to always fall back on, which is the network and the coaches. 2019, 2020 was not actually a very, very good year, personally. During that time, there was the lack of resources. And then the Flame Program and the ASISA made provisions that we could get some donations so that we could be supported in terms of our farms to progress, whereas there was nowhere we could find those resources. but the Flame program made all of those things possible for us so that our farms could not die.
Thank you very much, Owen. So yes, when we look at overall, the program which was covered, a lot of the participants were able to build multiple streams of income, which they haven't done before, and a lot of that due to necessity, offering different products, different services. A lot of them were able to show and demonstrate an understanding of budgets and also financial management within their business is a lot better, and we're able to demonstrate that in our face-to-face sessions with them. When we went into their businesses, this is what they had to demonstrate to us, costing, how to work out costing better. So yes, very, very valuable. And overall, the main thing which came out of the program, which we see every single day, just their confidence, how their confidence has increased. And when you look at the challenges they faced, the moving forward, yes, a lot of them have that feeling that yes, they can accomplish anything after this, and that is really amazing. Not only the beneficiaries, also the coaches and the mentors which has been on the program, because it's certainly been challenging for them as well. The program itself never stopped, and when we look at the industry that we're in, a lot of programs just stopped completely, were put on hold. The Flame program went on right through COVID, which is really amazing. So well done to everyone on the program, and I'd like to hand over to Elena from Genesis. Thank you.
Hi everyone, nice to be here with you in person or virtually. So this year, as has been the case for everyone, for the ACESA Foundation, 2020 was a year of pivoting and trialing new methods. I believe that the ACESA Foundation leads by example and does not go gently into new things ever, but questions each and every option and decision that's presented to them. As an M&E and implementation team with the partners Grounded Media, we question the content, the platforms, the channels, the frequency, the expectations of different target audiences across all of the different programs. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we learned in terms of the implementation of these new digital channels and the pivots that were made. First of all, as it pertains to WageWise, the first 6 weeks of the program actually was a standard face-to-face program, had the USSD auxiliary channel, and in fact, the WageWise program had anticipated implementing a Facebook and a website, however, a couple of months later than was actually necessary given the pandemic. So we were actually moving over already to what is called the blended learning approach, and it was piloted from as soon as the face-to-face workshops were eliminated. We were piloting this blended approach. So what this really looked like was a combination of online workshops with ongoing content that used different platforms, including radio, USSD, WhatsApp, Facebook, and the website. And what we saw was that there was a huge uptake on the virtual channels. Specifically, we saw great uptake on the WhatsApp platform. So 66% of the participants were active, which is a great rating. There was 26% without WhatsApp, and only 7.5% of participants actually actively exited the program. This really showed to us that this was a really relevant and appropriate channel for South Africa in particular. Secondly, when the website was launched, we saw 100 people visiting the website a week over the period of time, with almost 1,100 new users. There was 1 minute and 39 seconds on average spent on the website, which is actually quite high. And actually what's interesting is that over half of the users were youth. So that gives us a really good sense of who can be targeted by the different channels. At this point, I'm going to hand over and we will hear directly from one of the WageWise participants.
Financial health is so important for employees because it impacts or it affects their performance at work and their productivity. For instance, when employees are not healthy financially, it has a huge impact on how they perform on their daily duties, how they perform their daily duties. And overall, their overall service delivery standard is also impacted negatively. With the content of the training, or with the tools that you get from attending the training, it equips you to be well prepared in different financial situations, and somehow you make financial sound decisions and informed decisions, and in terms of managing your finances better. The highlights for me were the group interactions and the debates that we'd have maybe after watching a video clip or a video insight during the training. Overall, the whole training was fruitful, and we look forward to more sessions after the whole COVID-19.
Thank you so much. And it's so lovely to hear these stories directly from our participants. Just to sum up across the different programs, WageWise, L+Earn, which is a program with young adults, and Build Up, there was a few commonalities that came up. As I mentioned, these are questions that are asked by the ASISA Foundation and on all of the steering committees on a regular basis. So in terms of pivoting to new channels and platforms, the very sort of most important question, most important factor to consider is the access and comfort to digital platforms that various different target audience members may have or may not be comfortable with. And all of that will immediately affect any kind of learning and the ultimate impact that is desirable. So for instance, USSD has had great engagement from the WageWise participants, however, quite poor engagement from students. And so we learn about which channels we can actually use with the different target audiences. Zoom is a super platform for varsity students. However, it didn't work as well with TVET students and not as well with the housing cooperative members. And so the implementation team has to consider how to use which platform for which audience, or what factors need to be included to make the platforms more accessible. When moving out of face-to-face workshops, it becomes even more obvious how people use their time, and that people's time is very precious. Not all content is as relevant to all groups. And we need to really think about the needs and interests of each of the different groups, or the different target audiences within ASISA Foundation's portfolio of the population, in ensuring relevance across those different groups. We've known for many years that for action to become habitual and achieve the entrenched behavior change over a period of time, we know that we need to have further engagement and reinforcing of messages beyond a single once-off learning session. The wonderful thing with digital channels is that digital channels really facilitate this type of longer-term relationship, because it's quite easy to stay in touch with people when we haven't necessarily been able to when you only see people face-to-face. In sum, in 2020, we recognized that transitioning to a digital offering was necessary, and it is beneficial to improving the program reach, ensuring quality engagement or enhancing quality engagement, and very much enabling flexibility. However, it hasn't quite negated some of the concerns over access as a result of the digital divide that we face in South Africa. And also the other aspect is that as humans, we all appreciate in-person connections, and these cannot be fully ignored through digital platforms and online learning. We will now hand over to hear from another participant in terms of her experience.
I'm Sanele Mpangolo. As a member of the housing co-op, I greatly enjoyed the Build Up Financial Literacy program that we participated in 2020. The financial literacy has really helped us with the current crisis that the country is facing of COVID-19. It helped us to save more. It helped us to make better choices for our finances. And with that in mind, we were able to save for our homes and make sure we get the dream that we've been saving for. Yes.
We've heard lovely stories from different participants throughout the session today. What we did at a broader scale perspective was that we actually had the opportunity to undertake a longer term longitudinal impact survey looking at financial resilience during COVID-19. And what we did is we actually went back to a group of WageWise participants from 2017 to understand whether there was a difference between those participants that had had the benefit of being part of WageWise a few years ago versus a very similar cohort of South Africans that had matched factors and characteristics, but had not been WageWise participants. So we really were aiming to understand how financial education is supporting individuals to cope with financial shock. We interviewed 300 participants. As I said, 149 participants had attended and participated in WageWise training in 2017, and we identified 151 other South Africans that were very similar to those, that 149 participants. All of the interviews were conducted telephonically. They were human to human, so there was an individual that was actually conducting the interview on the other end of the phone, and an incentive was provided to encourage participation. Overall, what we found was that financial education supports financial resilience. Those participants who had attended financial education ultimately felt more calm about their debt and their level of savings. Further, financial education had helped respondents, participants, to make changes prior to COVID-19, which had been useful to help them manage their finances and their financial resilience during COVID-19. So examples such as starting to save, implementing budgeting tools, and also the prioritization of spending on essential items. Respondents noted that they found information on how to better manage their resources from a number of sources. So we recognize that the Assisa Foundation is not the sole source of this information, and people would go to their bank, their friends and family, social media, which is great because we're now putting more and more content onto social media, radio, TV, as well as the Assisa and the WageWise resources that are available on the internet, as well as handed out in past workshops. We heard from the survey respondents that those who had attended WageWise in the past and had been provided with the take-home material, they did follow up and use the WageWise resources. And in particular, they noted the budgeting template that details how to manage income and expenses. The last point to note before I move on to the details specifically is that more than half of the respondents amongst both groups indicated that they will be able to cope with the effect of the pandemic, noting this was done in July and we're now even 8 months beyond that. It's important to note that the participants that were WageWise past participants appear to have responded more positively and more frequently that they will be able to cope. So that really reinforces this notion that financial education does lead to increased financial resilience. Just a few of the details on what this means and what this looks like from a savings and a debt perspective. Specifically on savings, those who had participated in WageWise were more likely to be saving, but still not saving enough, which is a message that we hear consistently across all our programs, but we were pleased to hear that they were more likely, WageWise participants were more likely to be savings. Secondly, which we thought was really interesting, is that those that keep track of their savings are more comfortable with their level of savings. So that is essentially that those that know what they do with their funds are more comfortable with their current circumstances. And lastly, those who saved for emergencies and took heed of the messaging that had been shared during WageWise are more comfortable with their level of savings, and particularly as it pertains to COVID-19. In terms of the circumstances surrounding debt, what we noted was twice as many respondents from the WageWise cohort either had no debt or felt calm about their debt levels compared to those in the comparison group. One of the reasons we went all the way back to 2017 cohort is exactly this, is that we wanted to see if people had enough elapsed time between receiving the content and being able to implement changes. Were there actually changes made a couple of years by the time they got to a circumstance that required this really deep financial resilience? And what we saw is that that is in fact true. Those who keep track of their expenses are more likely to feel calm about their debt and did not have debt. So this is a similar statement around those that know how much they are saving and keep track of their savings. And then lastly, there was a significant portion of the population group that were in the public sector, and those that are in the public sector are more likely to feel calm about their debt than those that are in the private sector, could have been either employed by a business or running a business themselves. And we think that this is the interpretation of this, is that they are more likely to either have, they'll have consistent salaries, and also that the public sector was not seeing specifically any direct cuts in the immediate term at the point of the survey. So all in all, we feel that this survey that happened during the point of a financial crisis in many people's lives, that the financial education really did come to the fore, and past WageWise participants, as well as other financial education participants, whatever program that might be, were definitely stood in a better condition than others. So we're thrilled to have seen these results. Thank you.